This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, The Truth, Part 10. Pardon my hair, I'm about to go down. When we left off, Renni found out just how far Stacks was willing to go to keep her safe and what he was really made of. Big Wood and Amir had a pissing contest at the poker table, and True had gotten Amir together, and now she had him caught in her web. He'd admitted to being a snake, and by doing so, he forfeited the protections that had been afforded to him as a leader in the St. James organization. So when True and Amir exited the chauffeured car, they stumbled onto the ferry. To any casual observer, they appeared to be extremely intoxicated. But before they got out of the car, True had given Amir the best BJ he'd ever had in his life. And that was the main reason why he was having difficulty walking. On the ferry, there were only a handful of travelers, and they were all allies. So the couple felt perfectly safe, ducking off into the bathroom for some more foreplay. In the middle of it, True told Amir that she couldn't wait a moment longer. She needed him in the worst way. She took out one of the female condoms from her purse, carefully inserted it inside, and with her skirt hiked up, she turned around and presented him with the best view on the boat. She slowly guided him inside, and as soon as she did, she felt the excruciating pain in her abdomen again, and she felt her stomach roll. She clenched her teeth, bared down against the pain, and breathed through her mouth. And as Amir adjusted himself inside, slowly moving in and out, he lied to himself, telling himself that he was really putting it on True. But True was simply trying to ignore the pain, praying that she could get that concoction into his system before she threw up and passed out at the same time. A couple of strokes in, Amir started feeling himself. He went to speed up and reach up to cup her breast, and when he did, his arms went limp, and then his legs went out from under him. He was unconscious before his body hit the floor. True snatched out the condom, adjusted her clothes, opened the bathroom door, waved in the two soldiers who were waiting outside, and made a beeline for the toilet, where she lost the contents of her stomach. Her unborn child was not at all pleased that another man had entered her vaginal canal. While it had been extremely brief, Big Wood's son or daughter was protesting and making it clear to his or her mama that could not happen again. And True was saying, okay, baby, I understand. While she was calling Earl, the two soldiers were fixing Amir's clothes and dragging him out of the bathroom. When the boat's security guards ran over to see what was going on, the soldiers told them that Amir was blackout drunk, but they would be sure to get him home safe. And the guards went for it, because they'd seen him stumble and barely make it onto the ferry. And he would not be the first passenger to board the ferry, white girl wasted, and pass out. And since they could clearly hear True inside the bathroom vomiting, that made the story even more believable. When the boat docked, the underground security helped the soldiers get Amir and True off the boat and into the waiting chauffeured cars. Several hours later, at the safe house, the gang was all there, showered and changed. True was there to meet Catherine, Q, Sincere, Big Wood, Stacks, and Renni. And tied up in the basement was an unconscious Amir. And the safe house was filled with soldiers and lieutenants from both the Lopez and St. James families. When Wood tried to go down to the basement and see about Amir, Catherine said, absolutely not. This is True's job and she's in charge. Wood turned to True and said, you need to let me down there. I need to see that nigga. True said, no. Wood said, and you and I need to talk. True said, no. Then she, Renni, and Stacks went down to the basement, leaving Wood standing in the hallway pissed. Catherine, Sincere, Q, and several lieutenants went into the surveillance room to watch. When Wood tried to join them, Catherine said, no, Wood. You wait right here. Q said, Wood, you gotta calm down. What the hell is going on with you? Wood said, you don't know what that nigga said to me in the underground. I just need 10 minutes with him. They need to wake that nigga up and untie him. Q said, this isn't personal, Wood. It's business. Let True do her job. In the basement, Renni had given Amir a dose of her wake-up concoction, and he woke up struggling, cussing, and fussing. When he realized that he was booty butt naked and tied up in the basement of a safe house, he lost it. He said, I knew you was a dirty and I should have never trusted you. True said, you're right. I'm definitely a witch, but I ain't never been dirty. That's all you. Now I got some questions. You gonna answer them voluntarily or you gonna need some help? Amir said, I ain't telling you a damn thing. And then he fixed his mouth to spit, and True kicked him in it, knocked one of his teeth out, and left him bloody. She said, nigga, I wish you would spit on me. Renni, help him talk. Then Renni started attaching Amir to the medical devices that were necessary to track his heart rate and his blood pressure, and True said, no need. Once he answers these questions, he's a dead man. Renni said, okay. She injected him with the serum, looked at her watch, and when the necessary time had elapsed, she said, go for it. True said, did you intentionally provide Jeff with information about Nigel's movements in order to give him the information he needed to set Nigel up? Amir said, yes. Did you intentionally create a situation where you put Wood in danger? Amir said, yes. Did you intentionally create a situation where you put Saint in danger? Amir said, yes. Did you plan to put any other members of any of the 5 families in danger? Amir said, yes. True said, name them. Amir said, Q, Catherine, Bella, and you, if it became necessary. True said, why? Amir said, because I wasn't ready to give up my seat at the table. Because I wasn't willing to wait years for another woman. Waiting for her to get over another man. I could tell that you were still in love with him. And I couldn't wait for him to find somebody else or die in the game for you to choose me. True said, were you working with anyone else? Amir said, no. True said, did anyone know what you were planning? Amir said, you. True said, when did I know? Amir said, today when I told you. True said, oh yeah, that's right. Were you involved in any other unauthorized and unsanctioned plots or plans? Amir said, no. Are you aware of any other unauthorized or unsanctioned plots or plans? And Amir said, no. True asked, are you ready to die? Amir said, no. And then True unholstered her favorite custom 357 and double tapped. As she walked out of the room, she called Javier to let Manny know that it was over. Manny called the Queen Mother and scheduled a round table. When True headed up the stairs to the main level, she kept going. She went right up to the second level, passing everybody. Wood said, Lil Mama. Catherine said, give her some time, Wood. Wood said she had time. I need answers. Halfway up the stairs, True had had enough. She turned around and said, what do you need to know, Wood? I had a job and I did it. Wood said, we need to talk in private. True said, no, we don't. What do you want to know? Wood said, fine. Why you leave Puerto Rico without saying anything to me? Why you been avoiding me? Why you haven't checked in? And why you want to make a scene right now? True said, I was focused on my job and I didn't need any distractions. Is that not the reason why you didn't contact me? Isn't that what you said when I ran into you in Puerto Rico? Wood said, I thought all that was behind us. I thought we was letting that go, True. True said, so did I. Wood said, then what the hell is the problem? Why you leave Puerto Rico and come back to Miami and start screwing that nigga brains out? Renni said, this is probably the part where y'all go in the room and continue this conversation. I mean, damn. True said, nah, he in his feelings. He need everybody here to know that he's still the man. Raise your hand if you believe that I've been screwing Amir's brains out. And then True looked around and waited. Nobody raised their hands. Raise your hand if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I love this big, black, stupid nigga. And everybody raised their hands. Big Wood said, this is not a game, True. True said, you're right. It's not. You're the only person in this damn house who doesn't realize that Amir was a liar. Wood said, was. True said, he's dead. Because Big Wood hadn't gone into the surveillance room. He didn't see what happened in the basement. And since the basement was soundproof, he didn't hear the gunshots either. True said he said things that weren't true to push your buttons. Now I handled that, nigga. You welcome. Now, do you really believe what he said, or is there some reason why you need to believe what he said? When Big Wood didn't respond, True walked away. Wood looked around and everybody was looking at him and he said, what the hell y'all niggas staring at? Q just shook his head because he was embarrassed for him. Then Big Wood went up the stairs behind True. At the top of the stairs, a soldier pointed him to the master suite. Big Wood knocked and True let him in. Big Wood grabbed True and picked her up. She said, get off of me, put me down. He sat her on top of the desk, and before he could say or do anything, her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and seeing it was Salema, she answered on speaker and said, what's up, sis? You on speakerphone, and Big Wood is here. Salema said, great. I'm calling because I hear congratulations is in order. You did that, and you ain't even have to go all the way with that nigga for real. I am your student. Teach me all of your ways, girl. That plan and the execution was pure perfection. You know you got a double royalty coming, right? And it's gonna be huge. Big Wood said, what you talking about, Slim? Salema said, you ain't know? Amir was plotting to kill you and Saint. Well, to get y'all killed, but same thing. True ain't tell you that? True said, I didn't have a chance to tell him that. He was too busy trying to question me about what Amir did or didn't do with his snatch. Salema laughed and said, "You got to toughen up, Big Wood. True loves you. I don't know what more she can do to prevent you from being jealous." Wood said, "I'm not jealous. You have no idea what that man said to me at a table full of hard legs about my woman." Salema said, "Operative words, your woman." True said, "Well, now you know for a fact that he was lying." Then she told him about the female condom laced with that concoction. She said he was knocked out in a matter of seconds, and now he's headed to the afterlife with no memory of it. Salema said, "I know that's right. You are truly earning your new moniker." Big Wood said, "Yeah, you the truth. I'm sorry I doubted you, little mama. You gotta understand, though. Just imagine it." True said, "Then stop imagining it. No matter where I am or what I'm doing, I'm yours." Damn, how many times I gotta tell you? And before True could finish, Big Wood had his tongue down her throat. After a pause, Salema said, guys, I'm still on this phone. And as much as I love a good show, we're gonna have to switch to FaceTime if y'all really want to give me one. Or y'all can wait until we hang up so y'all can swing from the chandeliers." Big Wood said, "My bad." And then he released True temporarily. Salema said, "So next week, Wise and I are having a little housewarming." Big Wood was taking off True's knee-high boots. Salema said, "Uncle Manny said that True's gonna be on vacation for a couple of weeks, so I know she'll be free." Big Wood was working on peeling True out of her skinny jeans. Salema said, "Now I'm sure that there'll be a round table between now and the day of the housewarming." Big Wood had True's tank top off, and he was freeing the tatas. Salema said, "So I'm sure Q and Catherine will give you time off too, Wood." Big Wood was using his huge fingers to roll True's ipples, and she was trying not to moan. So he took the phone out of her hand and placed it on the dresser. Salema said, "So tell me that you two will both be there, please." Big Wood hit the FaceTime button on True's cell phone and then took a mouthful of breaths while saying, "Mm-hmm." When the FaceTime connected, he aimed the camera at True's face. Then he slid her undies off. Then he swiped his fingers between her legs like a credit card, put them to his nose and sniffed. Neither he nor True heard anything that Salema was saying at that point. She was still talking. She'd asked him another question, and when she didn't hear an answer, she pulled the phone back from her ear and realized that she was connected to the FaceTime. She said, "Well, damn." And she saw True's whole face screw up. Big Wood had put her legs over his shoulders and put his face in the place. And he and True were, in fact, giving Salema a show. She said, "So I'm going to hang up now because I don't want to see True making them damn faces. The way my hormones are set up, I need to hang up and FaceTime my man so I can rub one out." True reached over and hung up the FaceTime in the middle of Salema's sentence. Then she fully committed to letting Big Wood give her what only he could. And Big Wood was eating like he just finished a 40-day and 40-night dry fast. And True was flooding like she was going to need a mop. And Big Wood was trying to vacuum it all up. He picked True up off the dresser and kept right on eating. Carried her over to the bed, sat down, laid back, spent True around, sat her on his face and ate it from the back. True could barely hold herself up. And when she started falling over, Wood held her up using both hands, cupping her tatas, while expertly using his long fingers to tweak her rock-hard ipples. True was having back-to-back big O's and grunting out Big Wood's name. And that was exactly what he needed to hear. He needed his ego stroked after Amir's attempted humiliation at the poker table. Even though he'd served up some of his own, it still stung. And while he knew full well that True left the underground and went somewhere and was intimate with Amir, he also knew that it wasn't personal. It didn't go all the way. And she did it to save his life. Her assignment may have initially been to find out what Amir's role was in Nigel's demise, but at some point, she figured out that Amir was plotting on Big Wood, and she did what she needed to do to keep him out of harm's way, to keep him from doing anything hasty, and to get the proof necessary to remove the family's protection from Amir so that she could eliminate him. While he may not have liked that she had to be sexual with another man, he could appreciate and respect that she'd done her due diligence to keep him and Amir out of one another's company. And he was impressed that after several months of being involved with Amir, True had managed to avoid going all the way with him until the final moment. And in that life, that counted for something. Big Wood couldn't count the number of times that he had taken women down in his role as a finisher, either to get information out of them, to draw out those women's men, or to get those women to do dirt for him. And while he wasn't in that role anymore, he knew full well he could find himself with a similar assignment. The longer Q was at the reins and he was his right hand. Plus, he knew he had a lot of damn nerve. He'd taken down Wise's little sister, Amira. And that was not business. He knew that True would be devastated if she ever found out, and now he really couldn't tell her. Instead, he was going to give her the royal treatment. Make sure she knew just how much he loved and appreciated her, and how much he was looking forward to their future together. Too bad he didn't know that he was only going to get one chance to come clean before it all went up in smoke. When Wood was done eating, he flipped True over, laid her down on her stomach with her butt up, unfolded that anaconda of his, slowly slid himself in until her walls made room for his girth and his length. And Wood almost passed out mid-thrust. This time, he had to stop. He said, "Little mama, turn around." When True turned around, he said, "Why does it feel like this?" True said, "Like what?" Wood said, "Like heaven. Like grandma's house on Sunday. Like a baptism. Like I'm one breath away from falling in." True said, "You calling me loose?" Wood said, "No. And you tighter than ever. Hot as ever. And wet like a damn tsunami. But it's something else, like God sprinkled something extra in it. I've never felt anything like that in my whole life." True said, "Is there an issue?" Wood said, "No. I'm trying to understand. You always feel good. You're the best I ever had. But this is different. I've heard my partners describe pregnant sex, and I've tried to imagine it without imagining their women. I'd have to imagine that this is what they've been describing." "You pregnant?" True knew that eventually Wood was going to have some questions. He was too intuitive and they were too connected. Even with all the drama and the problems, she was truly all his. And their baby had made that painfully clear. Salema had told her that the pregnancy hormones made sex a whole lot better. So if it was good, it was great. And if it was great, it was out of this world. And that explained her experience with Wood in Puerto Rico. And if she was feeling it, he was feeling it too. True could not answer that question, because Wood still owed her some information. So with a straight face, she looked him in the eyes and said, "Your partners have told you about pregnant sex, huh? Well, I've heard that sometimes when a man's been unfaithful, sex with his woman feels a little different when he doubles back. Have you cheated on me, Wood?" Wood was so thrown off that his wood went soft. His heart started racing. He started sweating bullets. And the only thing he could think to do was get defensive. He jumped up and said, "I know you're not accusing me of cheating, but only a few hours ago, you was tossing it up for a snake nigga." True calmly pulled the covers up over herself, sat up and said, "I wasn't cheating. I was working. And you had no issue with what I did with Amir a few minutes ago. You had this clit in your mouth. Deflection and guilt go hand in hand, Benjamin. You've never asked me a question that I couldn't answer, but it looks like you can't answer mine. And it also looks like the mood is over. You could show yourself out." Then True laid down and gave Wood her back. Scared to death, Wood said, "True, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm trying to put the past behind us. I'm trying to stop thinking about what you did with that snake nigga. And even though I know it was work, I know you still enjoyed it. I'm sure you came. Yeah, you ain't give it up until today. But you was giving him something. At the poker table, that man described your birthmark, True. What were you doing that he was able to do that?" True turned around and looked Big Wood in his eyes and said, "You really want to know? I was riding that nigga's face from the back like a roller coaster. He had a bird's eye view of that birthmark. I was gagging and choking him like my D was bigger than his. I twerked on his face while he tossed my salad. And when I had enough, I returned the favor. I slurped that D like I was sucking up a milkshake through a silly straw. Upside down. Any other questions, Benjamin? Are you ready to tell me who you've been dropping my D off to?" When Wood looked sick to his stomach, True said, "I'll never ask you again. Now don't you ever ask me about what I did with Amir or any other man, in the past or in the future." Then True rolled back over and showed Wood her back again. Big Wood said, "True." True said, "Get out." Big Wood grabbed his clothes, his pistols, and got the hell out. True laid there until she heard his car pull out of the parking lot. And then she cried like a baby.